What is going on, Weed Snacks? We really have a treat for you today. I am sitting with New Mexico CannaCritic, Gavin, and he is going to tell us all about the cool stuff. If you guys aren't really tuned in, CannaCritic is making a bunch of waves by making sure that he comes with the real. If you guys are really, if you're looking for the inside information, the information that hasn't been bought off, that hasn't been tainted, that is real and is true and up to date as this person knows is to be true and up to date. That is the New Mexico CannaCritic, and that's why Weed Snacks is just delighted to be able to sit down and have Gavin just tell you all about what is hot and what is not in New Mexico canna culture. Gavin, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out with Weed Snacks. We've been following you for a long time. You've been really true to the cannabis culture. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So years ago, I started just basically as a cannabis blogger and a reviewer. I started an Instagram 5 years ago when I got my very first vape here in New Mexico after I moved back from California and started posting just little opinions here and there. And over the years, it has flourished into a much larger brand. And I have ventured um, away from, not away from, but in addition to reviews, I've started doing independent product testing, promotions and giveaways, and sort of taking a deep dive journalism approach to the cannabis industry here so I can give consumers a real picture of what's going on and let them know what they're buying, what they're consuming, and what's out there, what's really going on. Because I think everybody has a right to know. I think transparency is the most important thing.
Excellent. Yes. And so before we even really get into any of it, um, let's tell everybody a little bit about your resources, what you do in order to qualify, the data that comes in or the criteria that you use to give everybody, the information you give them.
Sure. So when it comes to reviews, of course, those are strictly just opinion based. I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I make images and the reviews are just strictly opinions off of what I purchase. Otherwise, sometimes the products may be given to me, but I'm never compensated for those in any way. When it comes to analytics and testing, I like to go to dispensaries, retail stores throughout the state, pull products off the shelves randomly, and I submit them to state certified um, approved labs to get secondary results. And I have testing run twice on each sample that I submit, and I compare my results with the results that the producer has, and then we go from there and see where we're at.
I just want to say how
And
cool that is.
otherwise, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. That's just so cool. That is, so it's one thing for them to print results, but you're making sure that those results are true.
Absolutely. So, one of the biggest issues, in my opinion, when it comes to cannabis compliance is the state requirements, and especially when it comes to testing. So, if you are a grower and you have 100 pounds of weed you want to sell, you only have to take a 4 gram sample to have tested, and whatever results you get from that small sample, you can apply to that entire batch that you sell.
Oh wow.
So that entire batch may be tainted with something we don't know about, and the 4 grams they submitted were not. And before you know it, you're consuming something that you have absolutely no intention of doing, and it's sometimes a serious health hazard.
Awesome. That's awesome that you're really making sure that people adhere to proper testing. So one of the things that we want to do is we've talked about this is we want to get together every 2 weeks and you just tell everybody in New Mexico what's hot, what's not, what is going on in the flower industry, what's going on, and um, you have some stuff that you've put together for us this week.
Absolutely.
Let's
So,
uh, let's talk about it.
were you interested in discussing products or talking about news of the week? Because there's quite a bit of both going on right now.
So before we get into the news, let's start with products. Let's go ahead and
Sure.
just because I want people to be able to have a trusted place here in New Mexico for somebody who has
Sure.
unbiased, hard nosed, hard line, true DAX, true data, true facts. So yeah, let's start with some products. Let's go there.
Sure. So everybody that knows me knows that I'm a big vape guy. I'm a big vape guy and I'm a big rosin guy. So I have steered away from BHO in the last 12 to 18 months or so, and I've gotten really into rosin. And one of the best things that has come out is the new rosin pens here from Bloom. Uh, Bloom is obviously a very well-known, trusted brand. They are typically known for their distillate carts, which I love and adore. But this particular line of rosin is actual 100% rosin, and it comes in a disposable, rechargeable device, which I absolutely love. There's multiple strain varieties available. Every single one of them tastes phenomenal. My particular favorite is Brandywine Bandit, which I recently did a top three countdown on my website for my top three favorites of Bloom's product line. And of the rosin, that was my favorite. So right now, we're actually running a giveaway with Bloom in collaboration with Oasis. And all anybody has to do is go on my website and let me know what their favorite Bloom product is, so we can get an idea of what everybody's doing, what everybody likes, and they qualify to win a Bloom box with my top three favorites, so that they can get a chance to try the rosin, the live strains, and the distillate strains.
That is really
So
cool. Gavin, please repeat yourself so that people know how to track that down. Go ahead and say that one more time.
sure. So if you go to nmcannacritic.com and you go to Bloom giveaways, you can enter your name and your favorite Bloom product and submit it to a raffle, and you'll be randomly drawn and selected for a Bloom box of three products of my top three choice,
Awesome. Very
so
cool.
that you can see exactly what I've tasted, what I've tested, and what I can tell you for fact is good, clean medicine.
You know, just from the small about information I know about Bloom, at one point, Bloom um, was, and I don't know if they still are, but they were the standard. They had such a clean facility that they kind of used their facility as the standard for a while. I know that was like that
I
a
would
few years
definitely
ago.
agree with you. We, recreational consumers were not in the industry 6 years ago to see the difference between then and now. And Bloom has pretty much been at the top and set the bar from day one, just like you said. And I've toured their labs. They're impeccably clean. I would eat off the floors. I've watched their process. I've learned about everything that they do. I've watched them from the time they take somebody's flower to the time it gets packaged and ready to go. I've seen them do it, and I'm beyond impressed with their process. Their facility is incredible. Their production level is incredible. They're able to crank out numbers of products like you've never seen, and they've got a lot of real good ingenuity on their team. So they're always coming up with new ideas, new flavors, new things like that, which as a consumer myself as a medical patient, but as a vape enthusiast, I love new things. I love variety. I don't like to stick with the same thing all the time with the unless it's the occasional favorite. But that's what I like about them is their willingness to grow and expand and give us new things all the time.
You know, as a connoisseur, what should we be looking for as consumers when trying to choose a nice high-end device like that?
The most important thing I would say as a consumer is to pay attention to labels. I know that a lot of people don't put a lot of emphasis on this, and I know the state is getting a lot more strict with it, but knowing the source of the flour is the most important thing because that's where everything starts. And the cleaner the flour, the better the product, no matter what it is, obviously. So if you start with top-notch flour, you're going to end up with top-notch rosin, you're going to end up with top-notch distillate, you're going to end up with top-notch hash holes, anything you want. So it's important to know the source of your flour. It's important to do your research and know who the growers are, who's growing what. Um, that's why I like to keep the public informed about violations and regulation and licensing department news because that way they can rest assured that what they're buying is okay and it's safe.
So,
So
real
labeling is
quick,
extremely important.
the Brandywine Bandit is your choice here.
It is my choice for rosin, yes.
Can you give a description of what the flavor's like?
Oh, absolutely. So, um, one of the things Bloom is most famous for is their botanical terpenes. So
Okay.
they have really strong earthy aromas. They're not very grassy. Um, they have some that have sour notes. This particular one is a little bit more on the mild side, but it's very earthy. It's very natural. It's the most natural rosin taste I've ever had in a disposable to date.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, what else we got up here on the chopping block today?
So today was an interesting day. Our timing was great because Oasis happens to be one of my favorite dispensaries. Number one reason being they have the greatest value for every single product, and they are famous for being the lowest priced dispensary for everything all the time. And I really appreciate that as a medical patient because when recreational started, the prices skyrocketed and it's getting almost impossible to pay for your own medicine. So Oasis came along and they have really grown as a company from just being a distributor to also adding a touch of ingenuity to the market. And the newest product that they're about to drop is this 2.7 gram disposable vape. The line is called Herb, and as you can see, just under 3 grams, it's the largest vape on the market so far. The largest one
Wow.
is 2, and it's really great, clean distillate. The viscosity is fantastic. You don't see the bubbles move back and forth, and it has live resin terpenes in it. And what this company has done geniusly is let the customer know exactly what they're buying by identifying these as live resin enriched distillate cartridges. So they're not claiming these are actual live resin like so many people claim to do. They are being very transparent, letting us know that this is a distillate product with preserved live terps taken and introduced into all of this line. And so each flavor is unique and has its own strain effects. They have indica sativa hybrid. All of them are fantastic. They're rechargeable and I'm enjoying them very much. So I can't wait for them to drop.
That is awesome. I don't think I've actually come across this brand yet. And this brand gets your approval.
100%. I have done a lot of testing with Oasis in particular
Yeah.
because based on the fact that they are the most reasonable dispensary in the state, it leads to a lot of suspicion sometimes with consumers, wondering whether or not they're getting the same product, wondering why they're getting such a better deal. Um, and I try to be really clear about that. And I get their products tested constantly, just like I test everybody else's. And I have never come across an Oasis brand product to to this day that has ever tested bad. Their flour tests phenomenally, and like I said, that's the foundation of everything. So if we're using their flour, we're getting good products, and I can trust that when I do come across products that test poorly, they will be removed from the shelves, and they have been. So it's a brand that I trust. It's the most trusted retailer, in my opinion, in the state.
Man, if you say so, then you guys need to be paying attention. If New Mexico CannaCritic is supporting or backing this brand, I mean, one, it's Bloom. Everybody knows Bloom's at the top, so it's really good to hear that they're doing well. But this company, Herb, has your seal of approval. Um, you guys should be paying attention. You can get it at Oasis Dispensary. Um, it's a big deal personally, for me to hear New Mexico CannaCritic back anything this solid. So y'all should be paying attention. What else do we have up here on the chopping block?
I actually have some of the flour that I picked up today, the AWOL line, which is also an Oasis brand line. The AWOL flour is the famous Bulldog, and the flour is absolutely phenomenal. It's extremely reasonable. You can get it in eights as low as $10 up to $35 based on what you're looking for. You can see exactly what's in it. You can smell it. It's phenomenal. I've never ever had any problems with it. So, um, flour, that's my flour recommendation for the day, my vape recommendation for the day, and my rosin recommendation for the day. All three of which have passed testing and passed my seal of approval when it comes to taste.
Before we skip over herb, I didn't mean to forget. Which one of those flavors did you say was your favorite flavor?
So right now, I am enjoying a sativa hybrid blend called Sour Blueberry, which is absolutely fantastic. If you've ever had any of the other flavored vapes that are blue slushy type flavors, this is one of those type. It's very sweet.
Okay.
It's and it's clean. There's no burn. Um, there's no harshness on the draw. These give fantastic draws with each hit,
And you said
and
that's
the
a three
effect lasts
gram?
for hours. It's just under 3 grams. It's 2.7,
Wow, that's incredible. And so what they've done
and
is
it's
they've taken distillate, they've added floral terpenes, but they've also re-added live resin sauce back to it to give it that full spectrum. Is
correct.
that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
That's
Correct. So
awesome.
when you go and look at a line of vapes, they'll all possibly be from the same batch of distillate. But if somebody introduces the right terpenes into each one, you'll get effects, tastes, and smells just like the flower from the vapes. So
Awesome.
it's an incredible science if you know if you know what you're doing.
Now over there on the flower is called AWOL.
The flower is called AWOL, AWOL, and most people just know it as the Bulldog brand. That's what I often hear when I'm in there. People
Okay.
ask for the Bulldog flower, and they have wall-to-wall strains. I mean, there's just so many varieties. There's so many options. On any given day, I would say you have 20 to 25 at least to choose from. So I've never seen anybody go in and leave empty-handed.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
really impressed with their business model when it comes to making things affordable for medical patients. It's really
So
important, and that's
Oasis is getting your seal of approval right now.
absolutely.
That's
And like I
big.
said, it's coming from a medical patient and watching the market and the prices increase and This is not to speak negatively about any other dispensary. I have a lot of dispensaries that I love in New Mexico that are fantastic, but some of the prices are out of control, and Oasis has taken that control away from people, and they've given it to consumers, and it's really fantastic.
So that's as far as what they're doing. You just think that it's responsible for everybody. It's a very
Absolutely.
responsible.
It's responsible and it's genuine. It shows
Nice.
that you really care about your customers. It shows that you really want to make a difference in the industry. It shows that you really care about the market because cannabis still has a stigma. You
Yeah.
know, we're still working to get rid of that stigma, and it's gonna take some time,
Yeah.
but having things that people can afford is a good way to start.
So I completely agree with you. A friend of mine, well, a guy who works here, Nicky Bobby, he he's got a whole campaign. Anytime somebody brings it up, he just says, "Dare dispensaries are really expensive." It's his thing. It's his
Absolutely
go-to.
right.
Yeah, it's his go-to thing. So AWOL from Oasis, Sour Blueberry from Herb, and Brandywine Bandit from Live Bloom, Live Resin from Bloom.
Yes.
All right.
But
Uh,
but as far as the Bloom line, just real quick, like I said, I just did the top three countdown. I did one of each of their line.
yeah.
The classic line, I chose Champagne Kush, which is absolutely amazing. And for the live line, which is very similar to what I just described, where they reintroduce live terps into their distillate, I have chosen cereal milk, which is a really creamy, delicious, soft blend of terps that's really satisfying, and the
Yeah.
Brandywine Bandit.
That's I love cereal milks. Those are obviously
You do.
delicious. Yeah, I love those ones. I'm actually
Yeah, you
really
can't go wrong
interested
with
in
it. And the flour itself is great too.
I'm really interested in the sour blueberry. That sounds delicious.
You should be. You should be. I was blown away by this, to be honest with you. There's so much stuff coming out every day. Everybody always claims to have the latest, greatest thing. Another thing that concerns a lot of real enthusiasts, especially in the vape world, is having a tank this large, whether or not the material is going to burn before you get to the bottom, whether or not it's going to lose its flavor. And I haven't experienced that. I haven't gotten all the way to the bottom yet, but I will say that on one of these, I'm very well past half, and I haven't noticed any difference whatsoever. So that's one of the most impressive things to me about this device. They were able to create an even heat distribution to prevent the product from being damaged over time.
Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty there for a moment. Um,
No worries.
so before we have a few minutes left here, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the industry. I'll let you just take it. I won't set it up too much, but go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the business.
Sure. So there's a whole lot of things happening right now. This is a real pivotal moment for the cannabis market. We have hundreds of dispensaries. We have hundreds more licenses available that aren't being even being used yet. And it's really a moment for people to rise and shine and show who they are and what they can do. So uh, I've personally noticed a huge decline in the product quality because I feel like there is a vast amount of greed amongst retailers. And this is based off of speaking with retailers and consumers alike. Um, when you see that two dispensaries are getting the exact same wholesale price on an item, but one is charging three times as much as the other, it starts to cause suspicion because Every licensee pays the same regulation fees. Everybody pays the same employment costs. Everybody pays the same overhead. There's no reason why company A should have a third of the price of company B. And so that's what really made me start looking into things. And I started finding some brands that were questionable. And without even doing testing, um, one of the biggest problems I saw was what we discussed, and that's the issue of live resin. There's a lot of products out there claiming to be live resin, and everybody questions the legitimacy of that. But unfortunately, there is no analytical test to determine the difference between the two. So, without doing so, I went and purchased a couple of pharmacated products. Pharmacated is a company from Oklahoma, also known as PhD, that sells distillate and what they claim to be live and cured resin vapes. I noticed that both of which looked and tasted almost identical, and they also had the same testing results on the back. In addition, they had the same producer. So I looked a little deeper and I contacted the producer. And I asked the producer what they made for this company, and they told me they made distillate for PhD and distillate only. And I confirmed it multiple times, and they assured me that they only made distillate across the board, and so there was no way they could make live resin for PhD. And so I wrote an exposure piece, sort of a journalism piece, and put it online for people to see because live resin products cost more than distillate products, usually $10 to $15 a piece, and that can really start to add up. And I thought it was really important for people to know. So I spoke to current employees, I spoke to past employees, I tried speaking with the owner of the company. Um, I did my due diligence and I did my research and I was able to conclude that they were in fact falsely labeling their products and they had no defense, no argument whatsoever. They just simply moved on and there are still some retailers that choose to carry them and there are those such as Oasis that have taken the high road and removed them from their shelves, which I highly respect. So that's been a big issue. And you probably recently heard of the big Golden Roots license revocation that the
I
Regulation and Licensing Department
before
announced.
we get into that, Gavin, how much time do we have left?
Sure,
We have 4 minutes left, Gavin, before they kick us
sure.
off here. Let's let's tell everybody about that really quick because that's been all over the news. Let's
Yeah.
delve in.
So this is another way of consumers, if they do their research, learning the hierarchy of the market. Golden Roots was a grower, and they provided product to various dispensaries such as Dark Matter and Cannabis Revolution. Dark Matter is one of the most expensive dispensaries in the state of New Mexico, and they were selling Golden Roots flower for about $15 a gram, including their pre-rolls, which is pretty unheard of in even New Mexico's market. I see Grower's Circle and other top-notch products at that price, but not Golden Roots. Um, the reason I felt it was so important to speak about the retail aspect of this is because we, the public, were made aware of the Golden Root situation by CCD back in January of 2023. There was a release of all of these concerns of having a fake grow and getting out of state product. And companies like Dark Matter didn't open their doors until April. So, in my opinion, it's important to do your due diligence and your research as a retail owner prior to accepting offers from companies such as Golden Roots. And I think they bear some responsibility in this. So Golden Roots, as of right now, has had their license revoked and they are no longer selling product. There is a recall, a state issued recall. So if you do have products, you can take them back and get a refund. But that is the situation as it stands today.
Do you know how many dispensaries were carrying that product?
I did the best I could to find aside from the really small mom and pop shops from down south, I was only able to find Cannabis Revolution and Dark Matter as their main sources.
Okay. Okay. So, before we get out of here, we're going to meet back together here in 2 weeks, and you're going to have a whole new lineup of products that are approved and companies that are disapproved.
I look forward to it.
Excellent, excellent. Gavin, thank you so much for talking to Wheat Snacks and hanging out with us today, giving us the lowdown and the 505 about what's hot and what's not. Real
You
quick
can
before we
always
get out of
trust the
here,
CannaCritic.
tell everybody again where to find you.
You can find me on Instagram. My handle is at nmcannacritic with the number 2. Or you can go to my website at www.nmcannacritic.com, where you can also enter our Bloom giveaway. And we have 2 boxes left to give away through next week.
Excellent, excellent. Gavin, thank you so much. We'll be
It's
talking
been a
again.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Many blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.